You know that feeling when someone more powerful than you decides to destroy your life, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it? When they have all the connections, all the influence, and you're just nobody. I lived that nightmare. I was a single mom working night shifts, barely scraping by, when two people in suits decided I didn't deserve the small break life had finally given me. They manufactured lies, planted evidence, and turned my coworkers against me. They made me look like a criminal in front of my 8-year-old daughter. But here's what they didn't know. Someone far more powerful than them had been watching the entire time. Someone who understood what it meant to fight for everything you have. And when the truth finally came to light, it didn't just clear my name. It changed everything. Not just for me, but for every person who's ever been stepped on by someone who thought they were untouchable. If you've ever felt powerless against workplace bullies, if you've ever been wrongfully accused of something you didn't do, or if you've ever wondered whether justice really exists in this world, then this story is for you. Hit that like button right now if you're ready to see what happens when karma catches up to people who think they're above consequences. And don't forget to subscribe, because I share stories like this. Real stories about real people that prove the universe has a way of balancing the scales, even when it seems impossible. My name is Sarah, and 2 years ago, I thought my biggest problem was finding enough hours in the day to keep my head above water. I was raising my 8-year-old daughter Emma on my own, working as a night janitor at Zenith Tech, one of those gleaming corporate towers where millionaires make decisions that change the world. Me? I just cleaned up after them, invisible in my worn uniform, moving through empty offices while the city slept. Every night, I'd arrive at 11 p.m. and work until 7 a.m., then race home to get Emma ready for school. The pay barely covered our tiny apartment, and I was always juggling bills, always one emergency away from disaster. Emma needed new school supplies, new clothes, new everything that growing kids need, and I was running out of ways to stretch every dollar. But she never complained. She just hugged me when I got home exhausted and tell me I was the best mom in the world. That little girl was my entire universe. Then something incredible happened. My supervisor called me into the office and told me I was being promoted to the day shift cleaning crew. Better hours, better pay, and I'd be working on the executive floors where the real money was made. For the first time in years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, things were looking up. I could pick Emma up from school. I could actually have dinner with her. I could stop feeling like I was failing as a mother. But the executive floors came with different people. People like Jennifer Walsh, the HR director with her perfect suits and cold smile, and Marcus Rivera, the facilities manager who acted like he owned the building. From my very first day, I could feel their eyes on me, hear their whispered comments when they thought I couldn't hear. Jennifer would make snide remarks about my uniform being unprofessional, even though it was the same one the company issued. Marcus would joke about me eating leftover catered food, as if wanting to feed my daughter made me some kind of thief. I tried to ignore it. I needed this job. Emma needed this job. But something in the way they looked at me, like I was dirt they'd stepped in, made my stomach twist. I had no idea they were already planning my destruction, that they'd decided I didn't belong in their pristine world. I had no idea that my promotion had just painted a target on my back. I should have seen it coming when Jennifer started asking strange questions about my work schedule, about which offices I cleaned and when. She'd appear out of nowhere while I was emptying trash cans, claiming she was just checking on things, but her eyes were always calculating, always watching. Marcus began following me around too, making comments about how I needed to be more careful with company property, as if I'd ever damaged anything in my 2 years of spotless service. What I didn't know was that they were plotting in Jennifer's office every afternoon, planning my downfall like it was just another business meeting. See, Jennifer had a nephew, a lazy 20-something, who'd been bouncing between jobs his whole life. She wanted him to have my position, and Marcus owed her favors from some office politics I wasn't important enough to understand. To them, I wasn't a person with a child to feed and bills to pay. I was just an obstacle to remove. The setup was sickeningly simple. Marcus had access to all the company equipment, including the expensive laptops executives used for presentations. One Tuesday morning, while I was cleaning the conference room, he slipped a $3,000 laptop into my cleaning cart. Not in plain sight, hidden under my supplies where someone would have to be looking for it to find it. Then he recruited two other employees, promising them promotions and raises if they'd just tell one little lie when asked. I was completely clueless. I went about my day, chatting with Emma on my lunch break, feeling grateful for the stability this job had finally given us. I even helped an elderly security guard reach something on a high shelf, the same kindness I'd always shown everyone in that building. If I'd known that laptop was sitting in my cart like a ticking bomb, maybe I would have noticed Jennifer's satisfied smile when she saw me in the hallway. Maybe I would have caught Marcus watching me with those predatory eyes, but I didn't. I finished my shift, went home, and made Emma her favorite spaghetti dinner. We watched cartoons together, and she fell asleep in my lap while I stroked her hair, thinking about how much better our life had become. I had no idea that 20 floors above us, Jennifer was making phone calls, setting the final pieces of her plan in motion. Tomorrow she would destroy everything I'd worked for, and there wouldn't be a single thing I could do to stop her. The call came at 8:30 the next morning, just as I was braiding Emma's hair for school. "Sarah, we need you to come in immediately. There's been an incident." Jennifer's voice was ice cold, professional, but I could hear something underneath. Satisfaction. My hands started shaking as I arranged for my neighbor to take Emma to school. Something was very, very wrong. The moment I walked into that conference room, I knew my life was about to end. Jennifer sat at the head of the table with Marcus beside her, both wearing expressions of fake concern. Security was there, HR representatives I'd never seen before, and on the table sat that laptop, still covered in the cleaning solution residue from my cart. "Sarah, we found this equipment in your possession yesterday," Jennifer said, her voice dripping with false disappointment. "Company policy is very clear about theft of corporate property." I felt the room spinning. My mouth went dry. I tried to speak, but the words came out as a whisper. "I didn't take anything. I would never—" But Marcus was already shaking his head, pulling out his phone to show a photo of my cleaning cart with the laptop clearly visible. Then came the witnesses. Two employees I barely knew, people I'd smiled at in hallways, people I'd held doors open for. They looked me straight in the eye and lied. I saw her put it in her cart. She was acting suspicious all week. I didn't want to say anything before, but each lie hit me like a physical blow. I kept saying I didn't do it, my voice getting more desperate, more pathetic. But who were they going to believe? The HR director and facilities manager, or the night janitor with the second-hand clothes? Security escorted me out like I was a common criminal. 20 minutes. That's how long it took to destroy 2 years of hard work and dedication. Other cleaning staff turned away when they saw me being walked out, their faces full of disappointment and disgust. Word travels fast in a building like that. By noon, everyone would know that Sarah Martinez was a thief. I sat in my car in the parking lot, shaking so hard I couldn't start the engine. Emma would be getting out of school in a few hours, and I'd have to look her in the eye and tell her that Mommy lost her job, that we might lose our home, that everything was falling apart again, and this time, I had no idea how to fix it. 3 weeks into my nightmare, when I was down to my last $20 and facing an eviction notice, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. "Ms. Martinez, this is Catherine Liu, Executive Assistant to Robert Chen, CEO of Zenith Tech. Mr. Chen would like to meet with you this afternoon. Can you be here at 2 o'clock?" I almost hung up, thinking it was some cruel joke. Why would the billionaire CEO of the company want to see the janitor who'd been fired for theft? But desperation makes you do strange things. I put on my only decent dress, the one I'd worn to Emma's school concerts, and walked back into that gleaming building where I'd been humiliated. The elevator ride to the 50th floor felt like ascending to another planet. I'd never been this high up, never seen the city sprawl out like a living map below. Robert Chen wasn't what I expected. He was younger than I'd imagined, maybe 45, wearing jeans and a simple button-down shirt. His office was massive but surprisingly warm, filled with family photos and books. When he looked at me, I didn't see the cold calculation I'd grown used to from executives. I saw something else, understanding, maybe even kindness. "Ms. Martinez, I owe you an apology," he said, and my world shifted again. "I've been investigating some financial irregularities in our company, and I had security cameras installed in areas where sensitive equipment was stored. I've seen everything. He turned his computer screen toward me, and there it was. Crystal clear video footage of Marcus sliding that laptop into my cleaning cart while I was in the bathroom. Jennifer coaching the two employees who would later lie about witnessing my theft. Marcus and Jennifer celebrating in her office after I was fired, actually high-fiving each other. They've been embezzling from our accounts for months, Mr. Chen continued, his voice getting harder. Small amounts from different departments, thinking no one would notice. When I started investigating, they needed a scapegoat, someone expendable, someone they thought no one would believe or defend. The room was spinning again, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from relief so overwhelming I could barely breathe. Ms. Martinez, you were never just a janitor to me. You were an employee who deserved respect and justice. And I failed you. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. But I'm going to make this right. All of it. What happened next was the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Mr. Chen called an emergency meeting, and I got to watch through the conference room's one-way glass as Jennifer and Marcus walked in, smug and confident, probably thinking they were getting commendations or bonuses. Their faces when they saw the CEO waiting for them, I'll never forget that moment when their arrogance crumbled into confusion. Please sit down, Mr. Chen said calmly, pulling up the security footage on the large screen. I have something I'd like you to see. The color drained from Jennifer's face as she watched herself coaching those employees to lie. Marcus actually tried to run, literally stood up and headed for the door. But security was already there. When the video showed him planting that laptop in my cart, he broke down completely. It wasn't my idea, Marcus sobbed, pointing at Jennifer. She said no one would care about some janitor. She said it would be easy. Jennifer tried to maintain her composure, but when Mr. Chen showed her the evidence of their embezzlement, months of financial records proving they'd stolen over $40,000, she finally cracked too. Watching these two people who had destroyed my life with such casual cruelty, now begging for mercy, was almost surreal. The lying employees were brought in next. Faced with the video evidence and the possibility of perjury charges, they confessed everything. How Jennifer had promised them promotions, how they'd been told I was just a cleaning lady, and it wouldn't matter. One of them was actually crying, saying he had kids and couldn't go to jail. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Within 2 hours, Jennifer and Marcus were escorted out by police, arrested for embezzlement and conspiracy. The local news picked up the story that evening. Tech company executives arrested for framing employee. But Mr. Chen wasn't done. He offered me something I never could have imagined, a position as facilities operations supervisor, overseeing the entire cleaning and maintenance staff, with a salary 3 times what I'd made before. You understand what it means to work hard and be treated fairly, he said. I want you to make sure that happens for everyone here. He also established a scholarship fund for Emma, ensuring she'd have everything she needed for college when the time came. Justice wasn't just served, it was served with interest, compound interest, that would change our lives forever. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new office, yes, my own office with windows overlooking the city, watching Emma do her homework at the little desk Mr. Chen had installed for her after-school visits. She's thriving in her advanced classes, confident in ways I never was at her age, knowing that her future is secure. When she looks up and smiles at me, calling me Boss Mom, my heart still skips a beat. We made it. We actually made it. My role as facilities operations supervisor has become more than just managing cleaning schedules. I've implemented new policies ensuring that every employee, regardless of their position, is treated with dignity and respect. I've created channels for reporting workplace harassment that actually work, where voices like mine can be heard without fear of retaliation. The other cleaning staff look at me differently now, not with pity or distance, but with hope. If Sarah Martinez can rise from being falsely accused to running entire departments, maybe anything is possible. Jennifer and Marcus both pled guilty to avoid longer sentences, but they still served 8 months in federal prison. Their mugshots made the local papers, a stark contrast to my photo in the company newsletter announcing my promotion. The employees who lied for them were terminated, though I advocated for them to receive job placement assistance rather than criminal charges. Sometimes mercy is its own form of justice. But the most profound change wasn't in my bank account or my job title. It was in how I see myself, how Emma sees possibility in the world. Mr. Chen often tells new employees my story during orientation, not as inspiration porn, but as a reminder that character reveals itself when people think no one is watching. Those hidden cameras didn't just catch a crime, they revealed the content of people's hearts. Sometimes Emma asks me if I'm angry about what happened, if I hate Jennifer and Marcus for what they tried to do to us. The truth is, I'm grateful. Without their cruelty, I never would have discovered my own strength, never would have learned that sometimes the most powerful people in the world are looking for others who understand what it means to fight for everything you have. The cameras were always rolling. Justice was always watching. And sometimes when you least expect it, the universe conspires to lift you higher than you ever dared dream possible. Sarah's story proves something I've always believed. That truth has a way of surfacing, even when it seems buried under lies and corruption. When I first heard about what happened to her, I was amazed not just by the injustice she faced, but by how the most unexpected person became her guardian angel. Robert Chen could have easily dismissed her case, could have accepted the word of his HR director and facilities manager without question. But he didn't. He looked deeper, and that made all the difference. What strikes me most about this story isn't just the dramatic reversal of fortune, though watching Jennifer and Marcus get their comeuppance was definitely satisfying. It's how Sarah transformed her pain into purpose. She could have taken her settlement, moved far away, and tried to forget what happened. Instead, she chose to stay and fight for other people who might find themselves in similar situations. She turned her position of power into protection for those who need it most. If this story inspired you, if it gave you hope that justice still exists in this world, then smash that like button right now and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Maybe it's a friend dealing with workplace bullies, or someone who's been wrongfully accused of something they didn't do. Sometimes we all need reminders that good people are watching, that truth eventually wins, and that karma isn't just a concept, it's a force that shapes our world in ways we can't always see. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because next week I'm bringing you another incredible story of workplace karma that'll absolutely blow your mind. It involves a restaurant manager who thought he could steal from hardworking servers until one customer's hidden recording changed everything. Trust me, you won't want to miss how that one ends. What would you have done in Sarah's situation? Would you have had the strength to rebuild after being torn down so completely? And what do you think about Mr. Chen's decision to help her rise even higher than where she started? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and your stories often inspire the next videos I make. Sometimes the most powerful lessons come from ordinary people doing extraordinary things when they think nobody's watching.